quality of your portfolio will depend largely upon your understanding of the standards upon which it's based. Let's take a few minutes to talk about the Missouri Teacher Standards and how you can put these into practice as far as assembling your portfolio. If you haven't already, you want to make sure you access the Missouri Teacher Standards and the Portfolio Evaluation Scoring Guide. Both of those are located in the course materials. Sometimes in education, it's hard to keep straight of all the different sets of guidelines that are governing different people in the profession. So let's take a look at these two sets of standards, the Missouri Teacher Standards, or MTS, and the Missouri Initial Professional Educator Competency Standards, or the MIPEC standards. It's easy to think the standards are interchangeable terms, but they're not really interchangeable. The MIPEC standards are the set of standards that our institution is responsible for in terms of providing a quality teacher preparation program. The MIPEC standards are what you are accountable for in knowing, learning, understanding, and practicing as a pre-service teacher candidate. In this course, the MTS falls under the umbrella of the MIPEC. So when we talk about the Missouri Teacher Standards, essentially there are 9 standards, and they establish what is expected of all Missouri teachers. There are 9 different standards whose purpose is important for those of us in the profession. Take into account that good teachers, quality teachers, effective teachers are reflective, and they are lifelong learners. These skills are simply essential for our teachers, and that's what these standards are for, to help you. This takes into account that you should be at different stages of understanding and proficiency with the standards from the different stages in your career. Beginning with the teacher candidates or the pre-service teacher, if you look at this professional continuum of the Missouri teacher, from left to right, it's going to read from pre-service teachers, which you are, and that's boxed out in red, all the way to the far right, which are distinguished teachers. It identifies that you should have an understanding of these standards and that you can identify how these different qualities are put into place in a classroom and that you can recall them. Basically, you should be familiar with the terms under the candidate row. You'll notice as the teacher becomes more experienced, there's a difference in the indicator verbs terminology. That's the second row. The professional, the proficient, and extinguished teacher, the highest levels, assume a leadership teacher position to newer teachers, and it's the place all teachers strive for in performance to help emerging and developing teachers. This shows that the pre-service candidate not only knows the standards, but also can provide evidence of knowing them. The goal of the portfolio is that it requires students to link MTS, Missouri Teacher Standards, to their created artifacts from the AAT program. For those, we'll use the MIPEC. This shows that the pre-service candidate not only knows the standards, but can provide evidence of knowing them. The portfolio scoring guide outlines the required artifacts, the classes they're created in, and the MTS they should be aligned to by the candidate. You should be able to show evidence that you're familiar with what the standards are, and you know what they look like in the classroom, so you're prepared to put them into action once you get into the classroom. Overall, the portfolio's goal is to link the Missouri Teacher Standards to artifacts. So basically, you're going to kind of memorize the teacher standards, but you're really going to know them by applying them. And so you're going to give the reader of your artifacts evidence that you can do these things, whether it's in the actual classroom, like for junior achievement, or if it's some kind of observation you made, or if it's an artifact like a behavior management plan, assessment project, or a lesson plan where you're just practicing on developing things for a fictitious class. You're providing evidence that you can make that connection from an artifact to those standards. For the Week 2 discussion, you have the specific task of reading and reviewing the Missouri Teacher Standards. After ending this video and examining the Missouri Teacher Standards, you must create an initial post by Wednesday meeting the expectations for the topic and reply to your classmates within a week. When you make your post, you're going to be looking at and identifying standards that apply directly to you and how you feel in a personal reflection about meeting those standards.